Hello everybody from the Surprise Pack Litter. Today is your going home video. There's no puppies and there's only me. So it is the most boring video because you just get to look at me and no puppies. However, it's the most exciting video because it's the last one and your puppy is going to be home with you in a few days. So what we're going to do is actually go through pretty much what we would go through were you here to do a group pickup. And I emailed you all a few days ago asking if you had any specific questions. We have some of those, so we'll address those later on. So what I'm going to do is go through all of the paperwork that you're going to receive. It's all going to come in this folder here, and we'll go through each document inside the folder. And then I'm just going to go through some of the items that the puppies have been used to and trained with, so you know what those are. And then we'll go on to specific questions. So in your folder, the first thing on your left-hand side is going to be your registration certificate from WALA. So this is going to tell you that your dog has been registered with the governing body, and it will have your Labradoodle's name, the registered name on there, their date of birth, and their WALA registration number. And then the next thing is going to be a list of some danger foods. Now, this list is not complete, but this is a list of things that you're most likely to encounter on a regular basis, either at your house or if you're going visiting or if you're out for a walk with your puppy. So it's fairly intuitive. The things that most people aren't aware of sometimes are garlic is a problem for dogs. Now, small amounts of garlic is fine. Indeed, the food that the puppies have been eating does include some garlic in it. Garlic is good for you, has lots of health benefits, but too much garlic for a puppy can be problematic. So this is one of the reasons why we recommend the treats we do, because we know they do not have garlic in them. So when your puppy is having garlic in their food, then you don't want to also be combining that in the treat. And a large percentage of treats do contain garlic in them. So that's why we recommend specific brands of treats so that we know they work well with the food we recommend. Grapes and raisins are another thing, and those are quite toxic to dogs. So of course raisins are just dried grapes. So that's something that you want to be sure is that you have your grapes high on the counter so where your puppy can't get them. And also make sure if you have kids that they're not leaving them on their plates, or if they're eating them that they're not dropping them on the floor where your puppy could pick them up. Now, one of the most ubiquitous things right now is a product called xylitol. It has a lot of different trade names, but basically what it is an artificial sweetener, and it is in so many foods. That is what is in every gum product, because all gum now is sugar-free gum. So to make it taste good, it has xylitol or some form of artificial sweetening, which is a derivative of xylitol in it. So this is something that is particularly toxic and fatal for dogs. So you may, if you have been on the list for a while, have seen a post from one of our other puppy families where their adult dog got into his mom's purse and found the package of gum she had, and it was like chiclets. So it was in the cardboard package. He opened that up, and then he was able to get the chiclets out of the foil pack that you press them out of. He ate 6 of them, and he almost died. He was in emergency in the hospital for just about a week. And the bill was very substantial. It was close to $10,000. So he made it, but these are the things that can happen. Gum is everywhere, so if you have kids again, or your kids have friends who come over and chew gum, or you chew gum, make sure you don't leave it anywhere where your dogs can get into it. If you leave a pack of gum in your car, don't leave it out in the console. Put it in a console that clicks closed, that your dog can't open, or into your glove compartment. If it's in your purse, zip your purse or close your purse in such a way there's no way your dog can get into it. So you'll find xylitol in lots of other products as well. Anything that's called light or low calorie or sugar-free will have xylitol in it. Anything that's a diabetic or a diet product will have some form of xylitol in it. So these things are all things you have to really watch out for. Some cereals, lots of peanut butter has xylitol in it. So you want to be sure that that's something that you avoid. On top of that, there's some nuts that are bad for dogs, such as macadamia nuts. Those are particularly problematic for them. That requires a trip to emergency right away. Chocolate's not good for them, but chocolate's like garlic. A small amount is not going to hurt them. So if your dog happens to eat half a chocolate bar, the world's not going to come to an end. If your dog ate 2 pounds of chocolate, then you would want to be going to emergency, and that would be a problematic situation. But small amounts are fine. And Ripple comes and sits on my lap every night, and our evening snack is we share a glass of milk and we share some chocolate chips, and she's perfectly fine. Milk is not ideal for dogs either, not cow's milk. It's hard for them to digest, but the amount of milk she shares out of my glass and the few chocolate chips don't do her any harm. It means a lot to her. It helps our relationship, so it's fine. I go along with it because that's her special treat. Onions are something that are problematic for dogs and something you don't want them to be having at all. Walnuts are bad for them. Yeast is bad for them. But if you give them a bit of your toast, it's fine. They're not, again, it's not going to kill them by any means or even make them sick. Now, one thing you might want to have on hand is hydrogen peroxide, because if you need to make your dog throw up, then that's what you're going to need to give them. But you want to do that only on the advice of a vet. The last thing, and the thing that is as ubiquitous and that we have the most issues with for our dogs, is marijuana. It's legal, so it's everywhere now. It only takes a small amount in someone's pocket to fall out or the butt to be left somewhere, and it is something that attracts your dog. Marijuana will make your dog very sick and can be fatal. And the signs of marijuana toxicity in your dog are usually they'll sort of loll their head, their eyes might roll up into the back of their heads, they may lay down and be totally listless, and it's so common. In 2019, we had 9 of our dogs that suffered from marijuana toxicity, and they were in all sorts of different areas. This isn't a problem that you find in a poor community or in a homeless population or anything like that. It's everywhere. One of our dogs is one of our guardian dogs, and they were just out for a walk on a trail, a typical family trail that they go on, and she ingested marijuana. Another was at Willows Beach, which is a fairly tony area in Victoria. And again, that dog found some marijuana and ingested it. So the other thing that can happen is that you may have friends and they may have a prescription for marijuana and they may be edibles. And that can happen as well, as if you're at a friend's place and you have no idea. They may have cookies out or something, or a brownie, even a gummy bear, and your dog gets into it and you don't realize that it's actually a prescription marijuana product. So be really aware of that. Drugs are a real problem for everybody, of course, but increasingly so for our dogs now. So the next thing you're going to find is some feeding instructions for your puppy. These are super general instructions, and the main thing is do not worry. Just relax. It is not rocket science. It's not something to get obsessed with. You need to remember that Labradoodles have a virtually zero food motivation. They are not really keen on eating. Getting them to eat is generally far more of a challenge than worrying about them eating too much. It's very rare to have a Labradoodle who eats too much. And it looks like it's such a small amount that you're feeding when you're feeding raw food. And that's because there is a ton of nutrition in the raw food. So it's not necessary to feed them massive quantities like you have to do with the processed food, such as a kibble. This is one of the benefits of raw, because it doesn't put a strain and a stress on the body system. Your kidneys and your livers are not working overtime trying to deal with all of the things that are in the kibble and convert it into some small amount of metabolized energy. In the raw, almost everything is available as metabolized energy. And the other thing is, when your dog eats raw, they won't drink hardly any water. And that's because the product already has the necessary water that they need during the day in it. Whereas if you eat kibble, or not you, your dog, the dog needs masses of water to consume a huge amount of water in order for their body to be able to break that kibble down and process it. And this is one of the drawbacks of kibble. Even if you have a freeze-dried raw product, your dog is not going to need to drink as much water as he would with a kibble. The freeze-dried raw or the dehydrated raw, such as the smack, looks like it's really dry and you think, oh, they must need to drink a lot, but you'll find they drink much less. Now the puppies in this litter are all very tiny. These are very, very small puppies. So they eat a very tiny bit of food. At the most, they're going to eat 1/4 of a pound 3 times a day. I would highly doubt they're going to eat that much. All of you who have the starter pack and have a 1-month supply of food, you will get that much food. Do not worry if you still have food left over in 6 weeks. Do not worry if they only eat 2 of the 1/4 pound sections in a day. Perfectly fine. You just want to remember, don't overfeed your Labradoodle, because if you do, they'll just stop eating. They'll just say, forget it, I don't like this, you're stuffing me, I'm going to have even less interest in food. And the other thing, of course, is when you're training, you're giving them lots of treats. So they have lots and lots of nutrition from their treats during the day. So use your training treats. Again, if you have the starter package, you'll have appropriate training treats in your order with everything. But also you can use smack. You can break the smack up into small amounts. Now smack, you need almost nothing to feed your dog because it too is highly, highly concentrated. So again, don't feed them too much, and when you are feeding smack, make sure you look on the bag and follow the rules for how much to feed. It will look like nothing. You'll look at it and go, well, that can't be right. That's like about 8 pieces. But it is right. And if you feed them too much, they'll just quit eating, and then you'll be tearing your hair out and you'll be all upset because you aren't able to get your puppy to eat. So it looks really tiny in the dish, but that's all that you need to do. Much better to give them a little bit less than to give them too much. And let your dog talk to you. Learn how to read your dog's signs. So if your dog gobbles everything up in 2 seconds and is looking at you like, okay, then you can add a bit more food in the next meal. But if they're kind of like, and they're fussing around and it takes them 10 minutes to eat what you've given them, or they leave some behind, then cut back. And don't worry if your puppy doesn't eat every single meal. Dogs are not designed to eat every time that eat like twice a day regularly. For puppies, 3 times a day. Dogs are designed to skip whole days of food. Ripple does that regularly. Smoochers does that regularly. And it's frustrating when you're the human because you think maybe something's wrong. But really, there's nothing wrong, and the dog is just doing what they do naturally. So just don't worry about it. Just let them tell you, let them speak to you. Now, the other thing that's really important, though, to remember with feeding is bones. Puppies are growing and developing, and for them to have the proper skeletal development, they have to eat bones. There is not enough of the essential nutrients in any of the food, it doesn't matter what format it comes in, to satisfy all of the needs that they have to develop their skeletal bodies properly. So make sure they're eating bones. If they don't want to eat their raw food as much as you think they should, skip one of the raw meals and make that a meal of bones. So again, if you've ordered the food to start off with, you're going to get some bones, and one of those things will be chicken wing tips. Those are great. You can give your puppy 3 of those, and that's a meal. Again, doesn't look like much, but that's a meal for them. And you want them to consume the entire bone. It's not about eating the meat, it's about eating the bone more than anything. And you want to feed these bones to them straight out of the freezer so they're frozen, because that really helps them do double duty. It gives them a great amount of comfort while they're teething. So it soothes all of the inflammation and the discomfort they have from teething, and it also provides them with great nutrition, and as well, it occupies them, and it gives them good exercise on their jaw, and it gives them lots of mental stimulation and exercise, which is really critical for a developing puppy. And what's a really good idea is when you've got something to do and you want your puppy to be occupied, then give them the bone, and you can give it to them in the crate or the X-Pen. You're still keeping an eye on them, but they're going to be busy and they're not going to bother you while you go about your business. And the other thing is variety. Once your puppy is about 3 months old, you're going to want to start switching it up, giving them different brands and types of food, and giving them lots of variety in their diet. Do it gradually so they don't get an upset stomach, but nonetheless, you're going to want to start giving them a better selection of different things. Their taste buds will start to develop a bit more by the time they're 3 months old. Now, one of the things that we use with all of the puppies who grow up here with us is a probiotic. And the one we use either Love Bugs or we use the ProGut. The ProGut seems to work really well. I think it is perhaps a little bit better than the Love Bugs, but not enough to really make a difference between the two of them. But that's something that you want to add to your puppy's meals, and that really helps their digestion. The other thing that's really handy, if you notice that they have a bit of a loose stool, or if they have a little bit of a hard stool, then you want to give them a bit of pumpkin, just plain canned pumpkin. And about a teaspoon right now would be about the right amount. And you can just mix it in with their food, or you can put it on your finger and just put it onto the roof of their mouths. They're used to eating pumpkin, they like it, they won't spit it out at you or anything else like that. The other thing we give all of our puppies is the hemp seed oil, and we alternate that with the herring oil. And the recommended amount of that is a 1/4 teaspoon twice a day. We just give them a 1/4 teaspoon once a day, and then every 3rd day we'll probably skip it. And that just helps them have really good omega-3s. Dogs, and just like people, always have too many omega-6s in their bodies and not enough omega-3s. So the 3s help balance the hemp seed oil and the herring oil, help balance that out and give them more of the omega-3s. And then finally, we use a multivitamin product called Fortify. It's designed to go with a raw food diet. So when you're rotating through the different things that your dog is going to eat, once they're a little older, they're going to have days where they just eat bones, or they're going to have days where they eat a pure protein and they don't have any vegetables. So that ensures that they have everything that they need regardless of what their meal is, or if they go off their food a bit. So that's the other thing that we give everybody. I don't recommend putting the Fortify in until your puppy's about 3 months old, or if you do it right from the get-go, just a little smidge and about every 3rd day. They don't need anywhere near what the recommended amount is for an adult dog. And then finally, what we always have on hand is slippery elm. Slippery elm's a natural herb and it cures diarrhea. It will not surprise me if when you get your puppy home, they have a little bit of a loose stool. It's really stressful. It's a big change for them. Excuse me. There's a lot going on, and even if their diet stays the same, they're still going to have some changes that happen, and they may get a little bit of a loose stool. The slippery elm, you just put the teeniest little pinch in their food, and you just do it until their stools are fine again. And then you quit giving it to them. Now, if you see your dog with a really crumbly stool or a gray or white stool, they've got too much bone. So back off on the bones that you're giving them. Or if you're giving them slippery elm, back off on the slippery elm. If you're just giving them the ProGut, back off on the ProGut a bit, because you don't want the poops to be so hard that they are uncomfortable for them. So that's their food. Basically, relax, don't worry, it's all fine. They'll let you know. Next in your package are 2 sheets of grooming advice and how to properly groom a Labradoodle. And these are not for you to try and attempt, but to take to your groomer. Usually when someone calls crying, it's because they have taken their dog to the groomer and they've come back looking like a poodle or a schnauzer or a cockapoo. You'll see lots of pictures in the owners group and lots of pictures of Labradoodles and lots of Labradoodles in person that look like cockapoos, and you think, that doesn't look like a Labradoodle. Where's that teddy bear look? They look like their ears are glued onto the side of their head. Their head is domey looking, and their ears are long and full, which is totally not how a Labradoodle looks. So this grooming guide will help your breeder, or not your breeder, your groomer, know how to do a proper Labradoodle cut. It is a skill. And if it was me, when I was going to go to a groomer for the first time, I would ask them for their portfolio and ask them to show me some pictures of some doodles that they've groomed and make sure those pictures look like the ones that are in the guide that I've given you here. And the last thing on the left side is going to be your True Panion certificate. Now we don't have anything to do with True Panion other than we provide a certificate to you from them. This is for 30 days free health insurance for your dog. Whether you decide to get insurance or not is of course entirely up to you, but don't turn down the free 30 days. So many things can happen to your puppy in the first 30 days. We've got a breeder friend in Chilliwack who a couple of litters ago had a puppy who was dropped and broke his leg, and that was a $6,500-ish bill. And they had activated their insurance, so it was okay. The dog was covered. And from that same litter, they had a puppy who developed some sort of odd autoimmune disease that's yet to be diagnosed. The puppy almost died. It was a very, very long period of time that the puppy was in the hospital. Their bill is now in excess of $70,000. That's all been paid for by True Panion. The other places you can look at to compare insurance companies and what they offer is Costco has a plan, and the other one is Petco. They all have something slightly different, so you want to take a look at them all and decide which one has what you think is most important for you. And I always tell everybody when you're deciding about getting pet insurance, if you have access to $10,000, it won't hurt you if you use that whole $10,000 and you can replace it right away. Don't bother with the pet insurance. But if you don't, then you want to get the pet insurance. If your dog has to go to emergency, it's almost always going to be at least $5,000 or $6,000. You don't ever want to be in a position where you have to decline what your dog needs because you don't have the money for it. At least that's how I feel. So that's sort of my guideline. Otherwise, totally up to you whether you decide to get it or not. It's roughly around $56, $60 a month with I think the deductible then is around $300. Each company will vary a bit, and each company, some of them make you pay the deductible every time, some only make you pay it once, and so on. So it's important to go through and take a good look at what they all have to offer. Now on the other side of your pickup package, the first thing will be your pedigree for your puppy. Now while this may not mean a whole lot to you, it does give you your dog's entire pedigree and ancestry. It also has the sex of your dog, the breed, the date of birth, that we're the breeder and that you're the owner. Now, if you're getting either Ash or Frankie, the sex will say it's a dog, and that is correct. That is their gender. In breeder and breeding nomenclature, a male is a dog and a female is a bitch. This is a professional breeder software program, so it does use the correct terminology. So no, I didn't make a mistake and just call your boy a dog instead of a boy. Your boy is a dog. The next thing will be your booklet from Cobble Hill, which is their health record. And in here you will find a record of the vaccinations that they've had. And those are the same ones that you're going to want to repeat for weeks. And they were all vaccinated on April 29th. So it's 4 weeks from that date that you'll want to be sure your puppy is being vaccinated again. And then you'll also see up here, I haven't filled it in yet, but you'll see all of the deworming that your puppies had. There is absolutely no necessity for your puppy to be wormed again. Please do not let your vet talk you into worming your dog or giving your dog any vaccinations when you go for your wellness exam. Your wellness exam needs to be done 3 days after you get your puppy home. If your vet's not doing wellness exams, okay, then we'll skip it. But most of them should be now. Those restrictions have all been loosened, so there shouldn't be any problem getting an appointment for that. But make sure your vet does not talk you into doing anything for your puppy, because that will cause your puppy harm and void your health warranty. The other thing that will be in your book is copies of the barcode for their microchip. So you might want to keep those somewhere safe so you always know what their microchip number is. We'll talk about the chip a little bit more. And also it will be your spay and neuter certificate. So you will have this, and it will cost you less to get your dog tag license from your municipality. And if you are Frankie, you won't have one of these because Frankie's surgery is not going to happen till later, since he's not wanting to show us both of his testicles. Shy little boy that he is. The next thing will be your bill of sale. and that will be what I'll be emailing to you either later today or tomorrow. And that will have all of the information about the health warranty, what's required for your health warranty, what it actually is, the definition. It will be signed by all of us. And then it will also have the details of your puppy. It will have all of the complete information on the warranty here, what is required by you to make sure the warranty stays effective. And then the Schedule C is the requirements for the care and maintenance of your puppy. And in here is the fact that you will be continuing to feed your puppy a raw diet. And if you are going to deviate from any of the approved suppliers or want to do something different, you need to have written permission from me in order for your guarantee to stay effective. So it's perfectly fine if you want to talk about changing things. Sometimes people think they're going to change to something and it's not really a good idea, and I'm happy to share with you why it's not. And sometimes it's just a matter of supply and what you have available, and generally it's perfectly fine. Some places don't have all of the brands of food that we have. Now, if you're on Vancouver Island, so for Belle and for Frankie, you can continue to get all of your food through us, all your food, supplements, and treats, and they'll be delivered to you, or you can come and pick them up. Now, if you live off of the island, you can buy all of your supplies from us still. We'll ship them to you, except for the frozen raw and the bones. We're working on getting that, but that's not in place yet. But you can order all of the other things from us online. And then Schedule D tells you all about the vaccinations, the schedule of vaccinations, what is and isn't permitted for vaccinations, and the reasons why. Same thing for parasite control and worming. So in the vaccinations, we just do the 4 core ones. We do not do Bordetella, which is kennel cough, and we do not do Leptospirosis, and we don't do Lyme disease, and we don't do coronavirus. Now, coronavirus is a big hot topic these days. The vaccine is not effective, and so there's really no point in exposing your dog to the risk of the vaccine and the side effects when it's not going to really do anything for them. Leptospirosis is around, but it's very uncommon for your dog to come into contact with that unless you're an avid outdoors backcountry person. If you do a lot of hiking and traveling way off the beaten path, then leptospirosis may be something you wish to consider. Your vet will probably recommend it to you because it is a zoonotic disease, which means your dog can give it to you. If you get lepto, you'll get a mild flu. That's it. You're not going to die. Nothing awful will happen to you. If your dog gets it, they'll get sick as well, and they won't die. But it's more of a more severe type of flu for them than it is for us. Bordetella, kennel cough. It's really similar to you and I getting a flu shot. It's pretty hit and miss. For dogs, it generally is, the efficacy is quite low. However, it can reduce the symptoms to be more mild, but usually it is not addressing the current strain of kennel cough that's out there. Now, if you put your dog into daycare at all, or even when you're going to your puppy training classes, you may find that Bordetella is a requirement for your puppy in order to do any of these things. In that case, go ahead. You just need to follow the schedule so that it is 2 weeks separate from any of the other vaccines. The main thing is you never want to be combining vaccinations. So you don't want to be giving the 4-way and Bordetella at the same time. It's way too much on a little puppy system. And these puppies are tiny, so we really have to keep that in mind. You really want to minimize what they're being exposed to. And then rabies, that's perfectly fine if you wish to get rabies, but not until your dog is 6 months old. With these guys, because they're tiny, I would probably wait till they were 8 or 10 months old. Parasite control, which is flea and ticks. So no flea and tick medication is permitted that enters the dog's bloodstream. The worst things are Bravecto, NexGard, those types of products. Those have a very bad reputation for causing permanent neurological damage or even killing your dog. There are multiple class action lawsuits against the companies for all the damage they've done to these dogs. But anything that enters their bloodstream is strictly prohibited during the term of the contract. The flea and tick repellent oil that we have is made on Vancouver Island. It's all natural and it works so well. We used to use a product from the States because we couldn't find a Canadian one that we liked. We found a couple, but they weren't very effective. And then we found a couple that were effective, but oh, they smelled awful. And you don't want your dog to have this product on them and then you go to hang out with your dog and they smell awful. That's not ideal. So finally we found this one just by chance. It was actually when Reynolds and I were in Sydney visiting and we saw it and we thought, well, we'll give it a shot. It smells pretty good and it really does work well. When we use it, and we have a really heavily infested tick area here, the dogs do not come back with ticks. Fleas are not a problem for us, but again, if your dog is hanging out in a group at all, if you have a cat, or if your dog goes to daycare at all, fleas can be an issue. So this work does double duty. And the bottle is not very big. We use it every day on our dogs. So we're usually doing 4 dogs because there's always a guardian dog here having puppies or something. And the bottle will last us about 5 weeks or so. So it lasts quite a long time. It's a pretty good value. And as I mentioned, for worming, the dogs have been wormed. They don't need to be wormed again. They've had their fecals done. They're all clear. If you keep your dog on a raw dog food diet, they will most likely never need to be wormed again. However, you still want to go to your vet once a year and have a fecal done to be sure. And one thing I forgot to mention in the vaccination schedule, when your dog's 20 weeks old, you need to do a titer test, and that's just a simple blood test. And the reason for that is to ensure that the vaccinations have worked. Sometimes maternal antibodies can be very strong, and all that happens is we have the maternal antibodies, we have the vaccinations, and they butt heads, and neither of them work, and the dog has zero immunity. Or maybe one aspect, one of the vaccines hasn't worked well, and your dog has very low or no immunity, say, to parvo. So you want to do that titer test at 20 weeks, and that's why we do it at 20 weeks. Not when the dog's a year, because you don't want to be running around with an unvaccinated dog for a year. You want to find out right away. And maternal antibodies stay or can stay present in your dog's body for 18 weeks. So 20 weeks gives time for all of the natural antibodies to be gone and for the vaccines to take effect. We have only had one puppy ever that didn't have that full immunity, but that one puppy could easily have died had he not been titer tested. Then after that's done, you only need to do it once every 3 years. And you only want a titer test for parvo and distemper. If those 2 are in place, everything else is good. And the last thing will be your microchip registration form. I am going to fill out all of the relevant portions that are that I know, and then you'll get it and have to fill out the remainder of the form with your personal information, and then you send it in. We've paid for the registration for the microchip for life for your dog, so you don't ever have to pay a fee or anything like that. If you move, change your address, then I believe they charge you $20 to change your address, but otherwise it's all paid for. The other thing is exercise, and we're going to do a little bit on that right now. So the puppies, because they're all in Head Start, they've all learned how to walk using this harness. Before, we never ever had harnesses, and I would always tell people just go and get one, whatever you like when they're a puppy, because I never found one that was any good. So I was never going to tell anybody, oh yeah, try this one, because I didn't like any of them. These ones, they have the silicone inside, so around the neck it doesn't move, so you don't get all this matting and breaking of hair around the neck. And another big feature is I can figure out how to put it on. That is something that's not easy on some harnesses. So this just slips around the dog's head. This goes under their tummy, comes up and clicks on. This is an extra small. This is what they're all wearing now, but it has lots and lots and lots and lots of play in it. So this is going to last for a good long time, because you can see how much that's going to go for your dog. Probably this is going to last for your dog's life. You may have to get a small, but chances are this one is going to do it. Right now, with it made to the smallest size, this part hangs down underneath them. So it's clipped up, but it comes like this and kind of sags down here. It doesn't affect how the harness works. So when it's clipped up, you have this one here, which is just for normal walking, just like a regular harness works. And then this one here, this is the little magic one, because what this does, you can see how this strap moves through here. It works like a martingale effect. So if your dog's pulling, this is where you provide the correction. It's around the girth, right here. Not the neck, not the legs, it's the girth. And dogs, when they have something attached to their neck and their girth at the same time, they absolutely will not pull. Not because there's some magical control, but because their brain can't process the fact that they're getting a signal from two places. They're so busy sorting that out and going, what is that on my stomach? What's going on? Why is there something here? What's that? Huh? They won't pull. They'll immediately stop pulling, and that's the trick, and that's what you want. So this one is very small and light. It doesn't affect their gait as some harnesses do. It doesn't give them all the mats, and this girth check is awesome. It also means when your dog is older, if they're an escape artist out of their harness, they won't get out of these ones. This is the leash that if you have the starter package you will have. This is made by the same company. Again, we've never had leashes before other than pretty ones, which we do still have. But this one is called a traffic control leash. And the reason for that is you see it has this loop right near where it buckles onto the harness and a loop here where you would normally hold it rather. So this means if you're walking down the sidewalk and you're approaching someone, you can grab the leash here really easily and have your dog on a super short leash right next to you. Same as if you're in an urban area and you're crossing the street or there's traffic, you've got full control of your dog. They don't have this 6-foot play. This is a 6-foot leash. They have no space where they can start to go like this and you lose control of them. Your puppy is right next to you, safe and sound. And the other thing it has is this little attachment here. Not sure what you call these things, but you can make it bigger and smaller, and this is great because you can put your poop bag on here, or even if you've got a purse that happens to have a clip on it like this, you can hang your purse off of here. And this has a nice soft coating inside, so it's nice around your wrist. So I really like these leashes. They're super light, which is really important for a puppy, because you don't want to have them trying to learn how to walk with a leash that's a big heavy leather thing and they're starting to go like that. Now this is a tail teaser. Now this is a pretty funny looking thing. What the heck is this? This is actually a cat toy, but this is what you use when you're working with your puppy on the leash. So you've got your puppy here on the harness and you want them to go this way and they're like, nah, I don't want to go. You do this and you go, hey, look at this. You put it out here. It's easy for you to do because there's lots of room here. You hold that out here and your puppy's naturally going to follow this and see what that is. So it's a great little tool when you're teaching your puppy how to walk on a leash. Repetitive exercise is a big issue. You do not want to be having your puppy doing the same type of movement for more than 15 minutes in a row. When they're 3 months old, you can put that up to 20-25. When they're 6 months old, you can go for 45 minutes. And by that, I mean you don't want to be doing a steady walk at a steady pace for longer than that. You can go 3-4 times in a day, but don't do anything longer than that. It's too hard on their joints. And no stairs. No stairs at all for 6 months. And then after 6 months, here and there, a couple of them. Otherwise, you carry your puppy up and down stairs. And the reason for that is hip dysplasia. 80% of hip dysplasia is from the environment. Only 20% is genetic. And from the environment, it's from doing stairs or repetitive exercise. So those two things are really important to remember. Now, the questions I got asked were, how far along are the dogs on their house training? So when the dogs went to Taylor's house, nobody had an accident. When they're in our house, sometimes they'll use the pee pad. That's not their fault. That's because we have lots of things going on and we don't always pay good attention. House training is 99.9% you and very little your dog. What you have to do is make sure that you take your dog out every 40-45 minutes, probably every 40 to start. You consistently use the same commands, you consistently use the same door, and you go consistently to the same spot, and you consistently use the same cue. You do that, you'll be fine. The puppies can all sleep in their crate for 7.5 hours overnight without having to get up to go to the bathroom, provided that you remember not to feed them after 7 p.m. No food, no water after 7 p.m. And provided that you take them out before you go to bed. So generally speaking, right now they go to bed around 10:30, they get up around 7, roughly speaking. They'll get up at 6 if they are overnighted in their crate. If they're overnighted in their X-pen, then it's 7:30. They can all sleep overnight in their crate without any issues. They may squeak for a couple of minutes, but it's just a matter of having them beside your bed and go, hey, that's okay, settle down now, time to go to bed. And if they're really persistent with you, because it's a strange place, then you want to put a blanket over their crate to give them some security. They do all know, though, that they go to the bathroom outside. When they have access to the doggy door, they'll take themselves out to go to the bathroom. Otherwise, they go on the pee pads. Their crate training, they're good in the crate. Like I said, they all can sleep overnight. During the day, it's really important that you also give them an hour or two during the day, not for a whole hour or two, but a few minutes here and there. Great opportunity to give them their bones. Make sure you have something special in the crate, a special blanket, a special toy, or that's the only place they get bones, whatever it is, so that the crate is always their favorite place to be. Riding in cars, everybody rides in the car quite nicely. They all love their booster seat. That's what they've all been trained to go in the car in, is their booster seat. This harness works perfectly in the booster seat. It comes with a strap that you clip them onto, and you would use this clip here. But they all really enjoy the booster seat and looking around and having car rides. They've gone on multiple car rides to multiple different places, and they're all fine. They all have been with Taylor for a sleepover. Everybody did great. All of them love new people. They loved being in a different place. Really enjoyed meeting her dogs. Nobody had any issues with anything there. They all fit in really well. Their food, they eat well. They will usually gobble it all up nicely right now, but as I was saying before, don't be surprised if that changes. And when they first come home, don't be surprised at all if they don't eat when you first come home. Be totally normal for them not to. When Frankie went to Taylor's, he didn't eat his first meal. Lucy didn't eat her first meal. Ash ate his, no problem at all. And Belle ate hers without any problem at all as well. Belle eats quite fast, just something to keep in mind, Kathy. You just want to watch her. When you put her food out, the raw food, you want to sort of use your spoon or a fork and a knife so it's in smaller bits, because she tends to gobble it a little bit. Now, if you've got a dog that does that, a really good idea is feeding them their food still semi-frozen. We always think it's best if we warm our food up, but dogs actually generally prefer their food cold, and semi-frozen for many of them is really ideal. And that way they don't gobble it as much. That's why you give them the bones frozen. They don't gobble it. And teething. So they are teething, and they will continue teething till they're about 6 months old. And they do all bite, and they do all nip, and that's something really important that you start working on as soon as you get your puppy home, especially if you've got children. I highly recommend that you work with Taylor to get some really good skills with respect to that. Taylor has an excellent way with children. Lots of times when we tell our children something, they go, and then they don't do it. Whereas if someone else outside of the house tells your kid, do this, don't do that, they, oh yeah, okay, that's the expert, and they do it. Taylor's niece lives with her, so she is always with her niece, and she has a lovely way with children, and equally as well as she does with the dogs. So if you have the starter package, you have a $35 coupon for Taylor's services. Everything can be done online. If you're here on the island, then she has the whole program worked out where she will be able to work with you in an appropriate social distance manner. And you do, though, still, all of the puppies need to be enrolled in a puppy kindergarten class. Those are all starting again, so you should be able to get your puppy in one of those right away, because that's critical. That's that socialization period, and that 12-week mark is coming up really soon, so you want to be sure that you take advantage of all of the opportunities so that your puppy's well socialized. So I think that's everything. It's a long talk. At least on the video, you can go back and look at it again and go, what did she say? What was that again? If you've got any questions, just post them in the comments below this video, and then I'll answer them on the video rather than emailing them to me, please. You'll all get billed for Head Start separately, and that will be billed through Isle Doodles. Your Head Start, or not your Head Start, your starter package or individual items that you've ordered, those will all be billed through Curated Canines. So Curated Canines provides everything, all the products. Isle Labradoodles provides the services. So Head Start's a service and only subject to GST, whereas everything else is the normal PST and GST. And if you want to add something, just let me know, and we can do the order for you and email you the invoice, because not everything we've talked about is able to be seen on the website. So say if you wanted to just buy the leash, just tell me, and I can work that out for you. The harness and the tail teaser are on there, the booster seat, the nail clippers, most everything is on there. But if you can't see it, because we're working on that site all the time right now, so not everything is always available at the same time, just let me know. And the food will all be customized for your dog and your situation, and we know you're excited. We hope you have a great time. Oh, and one final thing. When you take your puppy home, please do not have visitors over, not that you're likely to with COVID anyways, but please don't have anyone over for at least 3 days. Keep it as quiet, calm, just your family for 3 days, and let your puppy settle in. Don't worry if they squeak or cry or seem unhappy. It's a huge change. They just need to get acclimated. That's all. Just give them 3 days to catch their breath and go, oh, okay. Generally speaking, they're all, oh, finally, my own family and someone who's going to pay attention to me and not my other brothers and sister. So it works out really well. So we hope you've really enjoyed the whole journey. We really are looking forward to hearing how your puppy does. Please be sure you email me the day after you get your puppy. Let us know how it's going, and really have a lifetime of love and laughter with your new Labradoodle puppy from Isle Doodles. Thanks for watching.